Hello there! Today in this video we are going to do a whole reading test, 3 texts, 3 passages and 40 questions. We will do them in 1 hour, and here I will apply all tips and tricks that I previously shared with you in my old videos about reading. If you want to know all the strategies, how to apply all the strategies in a single reading test, just watch this video till the end. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video to get the most relevant information about IELTS. So our first text is called Why We Need to Protect Polar Bears. Usually the first text, the first passage, is easier than the second and the last one. But sometimes it can be vice versa, you just need to be more careful. So before you start, just read the name of the text, its title, Why We Need to Protect Polar Bears. It just gives us overall understanding of the text. It's about polar bears and about their protection. Next, we'll look at the text, how long it is, and then we'll look at the tasks. The first task is true, false, not given, that many people don't like, but actually is, for me, it's the easiest one. The next one is complete the table below. Like you need to read just one word only. It's a table. Here we don't have a text. We have separate sentences, and we need to fill in the gaps in these sentences. Always read the instructions very carefully. You need to write one word only. True, false, not given instructions are the same. We have just 2 exercises, 2 tasks, and 13 questions in general. So if it's the first text, usually it should be like that. The first text, the first task will be in the first part of the text, okay? And the second task will appear somewhere in the second part of the text. But before I start doing this, I try to examine my tasks. So the first task, true, false, not given. I know that in this task here, they follow the order. Like the first statement will appear somewhere at the beginning of the text. The second will come after the first one. The third will come after the second one, and so on. And then I look at my table, reasons why polar bears should be protected. So I'll do like that. Usually I do like that. Firstly, I do the task in which questions follow each other, like come one by one. And then I just remember this title. It's about the protection, the reasons why we need to protect polar bears. And while doing this task, maybe I will like encounter the reasons why we need to protect polar bears. And while doing this one, like finding the statements in the text, I'll try to find also the answers to this task as well. But as it's the first task, I told you that probably in the first part of the text you will get these answers, and then as soon as this task is over, you will go to the second one, to the second task in the second part of the text. So let's start from this one. Usually people say that you need to read all these statements. Like, why should I need all these statements? I will not remember them. I will forget them easily. And I will just start with the first one, and I will just remember this one. It's about reasons why polar bears should be protected. And especially I remember this first one because here they also come according to the order in the text. The answers come according to the order. Here we have people think of bears as unintelligent, and so whenever I meet this sentence or sentences with this meaning, like what people think about polar bears, that they are unintelligent, and I need to find the second adjective, unintelligent and what, okay? So let's start from true, false, not given, and whenever I meet the reasons why we need to protect polar bears, I will try to find the answers to the second task. Polar bears suffer from various health problems due to the built-up fat under their skin. So always analyze the statement very, very carefully. So here I have the reason is fat. Fat is the reason why they suffer from various health problems. They have health problems and the reason is fat. Okay, always try to understand it very, very exactly. Okay, let's start reading. Of course, you will read it from somewhere from the beginning. And fat, you try to take the words, your keywords, like health problems, fat. Okay, suffer from health problems and fat. Take these keywords which are difficult to paraphrase and try to find. Like, don't take Bayer as your keyword, because the text is only about Bayer. You'll find Bayer everywhere. Okay, so I'll look through this one, and I see, so I saw here far, and I saw that maybe it's a fat, but it's far-reaching consequences. So yeah, they are adapted to extreme conditions, minus 40 degrees. And one reason for this is that they have up to 11 centimeters fat underneath their skin. So it's about fat here. And humans with comparative levels of adipose tissue would be considered obese and would be likely to suffer from diabetes and heart disease. Yes, we have some information about illnesses, but these illnesses relate to humans. They are compared to polar bears in the sentence, and it's told that if people had such a layer of fat, they would suffer from such illnesses. Yet here means but, so yet sometimes means but. The polar bear experiences no such consequences. So the polar bear has no such problems like these diseases. So this statement is obviously false. And I write here false. Okay, I go further. I know that the second one will come after the first one, and as I found the first one here, yet the polar bears experiences no such consequences, the second one will come from somewhere here. Now let's read the second statement. The study done by Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. So this person, maybe I don't pronounce his name or her name properly, Liu, let's say Liu. There was a study, so you need to know that the study will be said like research or something like that. Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. Let's see, do we have? So, of course, this one is easier to find because we have the name of a person. And I'll look immediately in whatever I meet his name. Liu and his colleagues found the polar bears had a gene known as APOB, which reduces levels of low-density lipoproteins. It's a bad cholesterol, but there we had the information that Liu and his colleagues compared genes of different groups, yeah? Different groups of polar bears. Let's see. Yeah, the study starts here. 2014 study by Shiping Liu and colleagues sheds light on this mystery. So this mistake can happen to you. It's not a mistake, like you just will waste time a little bit. So his name comes here for the first time, but I saw it here. Liu and his colleagues, I see it here. Try to go immediately after the part where you stopped. So Ping and Liu and colleagues sheds lights on this mystery. They compared the genetic structure. Well, we have this comparison. Compare the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relatives from a warmer climate, the brown bears. So they compared the structure of genes of polar bears and brown bears. But what do we have in the statement? They compare different groups of polar bears. And this is totally opposite. That's why it's false. The information is not insufficient. It's sufficient. We know what they compared. And they didn't compare what was told in the statement. That's why we write false and not given. The next one. Liu and colleagues were the first researchers to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. Well, actually, we have this part where it's told that they compared polar bears with brown bears. This allowed them to determine the genes. Then we have like polar bears can survive in the toughest environment. Then we have this gene. It reduces low density lipoproteins. It's bad cholesterol. Then comparison with humans, and that's it. But we don't see any information about Liu, whether he and his colleagues were the first researchers in this field. And that's why we write here not given. Here the information is not sufficient. That's why we write not given and not false. And of course not true, because it's not true. Like, we don't know, maybe it's true, but we don't have this information in the text. That's why for us it's not given. Okay, let's go further. We have polar bears are able to control their levels of bad cholesterol by genetic means. They can control bad cholesterol by genetic means, like by the way of genes, like genes help them, their genes help them to control it. And while doing this, true false not given, you shouldn't forget about this one, reasons why polar bears should be protected. Maybe you can meet it somewhere else, but if you meet it, you will meet it firstly in the statements, like the information about protection. If you meet this information about protection, always try to fill in the gaps in the second task too. Okay, so we have, they can control bad cholesterol by their genes, by genetic means. So we have this bad cholesterol. Liu and his colleagues found that they had a gene known, this one, this gene APOB, which reduces levels of low density lipoproteins, a form of bad cholesterol. So they have this gene and it can reduce this level of lipoproteins, and it's a bad cholesterol. In humans, such mutations of this gene are associated, British English, with increased risk of heart disease. Polar bears, therefore, can be an important study model to understand heart disease in humans. Well, when people have such a condition, they can suffer from heart disease, but polar bears can easily reduce it by themselves by this gene. And yes, it's true, because here we have, they are able to control bad cholesterol, the level of bad cholesterol, by genetic means. And that's why this one is true. We write here true. And we go further, number 5. Female polar bears are able to survive about 6 months without food. No food, 6 months are our keywords. Always try to find those unique keywords that are more difficult to paraphrase. Next, we read about this one, and we need to find female polar bears, the information about female polar bears. We have this osteoporosis, density, cause calcium, bone tissue. Like female polar bears, however, undergo extreme conditions during their pregnancy, every pregnancy. Once autumn comes, they will dig maternity dens in the snow and will remain there throughout the winter, both before and after the birth of their cubs. This process results about 6 months of fasting. Fasting, you know, like being hungry for some period of time. 6 months of fasting, where female bears have to keep themselves in their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium and calorie reserves, like they exhaust, like their calcium and calorie reserves reduce. But despite this, their bones remain strong and dense. Like they don't lose calcium from their bones. Let's go and read again, because you know you will forget it. Of course, it's normal to forget the statement. You will go back and go forward again. Female polar bears are able to survive about 6 months without food. Exactly. Fasting, 6 months, and don't lose any calcium. This one, number 5, is true. Is true. We go further. Number 6, it was found that the bones of female polar bears were very weak when they came out of their dens in spring. So I was able to read a little bit further, and I already know the answer. I have this one. Despite that they deplete their calcium and calorie reserves during pregnancy, their bones remain strong and dense. But here we have that their bones become weak. Yeah? It's opposite, and that's why it's false. Like for 6, I write false. Let's go to 7. The polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could be used by people one day. So this mechanism, how polar bears can be so dense, their bones can be dense, it can be used by people one day. It's about future, and we need to read it. So it's about future, but if we have the information that people now use this method, it's not true. Okay, it's like false. So here we have Alan Goodship. He found the explanation for this paradox. He explains this paradox. And then we need to find some information about humans. If the mechanism of bone remodeling in polar bears can be understood, many bedridden humans and even astronauts could potentially benefit. So we have if conditional sentence. If it's understood, we have the second conditional. It's used for hypothetical situations in the future. So we could potentially benefit. It can happen. It could happen actually in the future. And that's why, it's true. Because here we also have could also be used. Like it's only hypothetical situation. That's why it's true as well. So we have just one not given. We have 3 false answers and 3 true answers. That's okay. Usually you will have the answer from each section, true, false, and not given. Usually it's like that. Okay, so we haven't found anything about reasons why we need to protect polar bears, but our second exercise is about that, reasons why polar bears should be protected. Let's look at the second part of the passage. We have the medical benefits of the polar bears have their importance in conservation efforts, but this could not be only the factors taken into consideration. We want to protect, so we have something about protection. Let's remind ourselves the first gap here. People think of bears as unintelligent, and so we have the first adjective, unintelligent, and we need to find the second one. What do people think about polar bears? We want to protect animals we think are intelligent and possess emotions, such as elephants and primates. Bears, on the other hand, bears seem to be perceived, like we perceive them, as stupid, unintelligent, and in many cases violent. So we have the second adjective is violent. They have paraphrased unintelligent into stupid. Don't forget where you stopped. You stopped here at violent. Write here your answer, violent. And let's go further. We have in Tennoji Zoo, I hope it's pronounced correctly. So we have here a clear example from the zoo. A bear has been seen using a branch as and this allowed him to knock down something. Okay, a bear took a branch and he used it as something. So we need to find the comparison of branch to something in the text. And he knocked down something. Okay, 9 and 10 can be used near each other, can be written near each other in the text. Let's see. So branch is our keyword after violent. We have here yet anecdotal evidence from the field, challenge assumptions, blah, blah, blah. Polar bears have good problem-solving abilities. Okay. And we have the zoo. By the way, it's important to remember the name of the zoo, and you know that the answer is somewhere here. They observed a male bear called Gogo in Tennoji Zoo has been observed making use of a tool to manipulate his environment. The bear used a tree branch on multiple occasions to dislodge a piece of meat. So we have 2 sentences here. This male bear, Gogo, has been observed making use of a tool. So he used a tool to manipulate the environment. He used a tree branch. He used a tool, he used a tree branch. A tree branch is compared to a tool. So the answer here will be tool, using a branch as a tool. And we'll write it here. And we go further. This allowed him to knock down something. If we read carefully, we can see to dislodge a piece of meat hung out of his reach. So they hang a piece of meat there, and he used the tree branch to dislodge, to knock down. So even if you don't know the meaning of the word dislodge, it means something negative. This, we have this prefix. So he wants to like put this meat on the ground to dislodge it, and that's why it's meat, a piece of meat. It will look here, to knock down a piece of, just some portion, and that's why we write here meat. Next, a wild polar bear worked out a method of reaching a platform where A was located. So he worked out a method, like he invented a method, and he wanted, with this method, he wanted to reach a platform where A was located. Something was located. A can be like a person or a thing. Let's read. Sorry. Yeah. The bear. Next, we have problem-solving ability has been witnessed in a wild polar bears, although not as obviously as with Go-Go. Like Go-Go was in the zoo, but let's look at wild polar bears. A calculated move by a male bear involved running and jumping onto barrels in an attempt to get a photographer standing on a platform 4 meters high. So actually I see here the word platform, attempt to get, to reach, whom? A photographer who was standing on a platform. If we look at this one, a platform where a photographer was located, a method of reaching. He worked out a method to get, reach, get, synonyms, and a photographer is the answer. So as we have here an indefinite article a photographer, this means that we need to take only a singular form of this word photographer. If we take a plural, it will be a mistake. Like if you mistakenly write photographers, it will be a mistake, because here inside the sentence we can write only photographer in a singular form. Polar bears have displayed behavior such as conscious manipulation of objects and activities similar to a. So behavior, conscious manipulation of objects, and activity similar to, we need to find the comparison of any activity to something. Let's look at the text, at what's written in the text. So photographer was here. We go further. Polar bear showed deliberate and focused manipulation. Yes, manipulation and activity. We need to find the activity. We see Ames observed bears putting objects in piles and then knocking them over and what appeared to be a game. So they put objects in piles and knocked them over, and it was like a game. It appeared to be a game for them, a comparison with a game. So our answer will be here, similar to a game, and we write here game. Well, we have the last one. If we have bears display emotions, so number 13 will be about emotions, and here we have the example. They may make movements suggesting movements which show emotion, and we need to find this emotion. As for emotions, so here we clearly see emotions. While the evidence is once again anecdotal, many bears have been seen to hit out at ice and snow, seemingly out of frustration when they have just missed out on a kill. So they missed out on a kill, they had unsuccessful hunting experience, which we have exactly here. They make movements suggesting if disappointed when hunting, unsuccessful hunting experience, like missed out a kill. And the emotion here is frustration. Well, that's it. The answer here will be frustration. Well, that's all. So we have come to our second passage, and here we have a list of headings. It's our first task. Then we have the passage itself. It's the step pyramid of Djoser. And we have the task called complete the notes below. So they give us a text and we need to fill in the gaps in this text. And we have multiple selection question or multiple choice. Actually, it can look like multiple choice question. So we need to find which two of the following points does the writer make about King Djoser. So what to do in such a task? So of course, firstly we have our headings and we need to find a heading for each paragraph. What's important about headings usually mean the overall meaning of a paragraph, and usually we have more headings than paragraphs. We have here 7 paragraphs and 9 headings, which means that we will have 2 headings redundant. We will not use them. The difficult point about headings is that they look the same, like some of these headings have almost a similar meaning, and also those redundant headings are very tricky. They are made from keywords taken from the paragraphs, and usually those keywords relate to additional ideas which are mentioned in those paragraphs, but they are not supported, and thus they don't imply the whole meaning of a paragraph. Okay, so in a paragraph there can be an additional idea and the main idea. The main idea is usually described or supported, but additional ideas are just mentioned, and of course they will take keywords from those additional ideas to confuse you a little bit. Or sometimes headings will just be made up from nothing or nowhere. Just a heading can be to confuse you again. So what to do in this case? Of course you can start with headings, but I usually don't start with headings because I'm not acquainted with the text, with the passage. That's why I usually start with other tasks. It's easier if I have true false not given or let's say multiple choice, but here I have firstly complete the notes below, and usually if this task is given like the second task, it will appear somewhere in the middle or closer to the end of the passage of the text. This one can appear everywhere, and that's why for all these tasks I will need to read the whole text. Just I look at this task, complete the notes. I just want to be acquainted with this task, from which part of the text this task is taken, and I see that it's about step pyramid of Djoser. And if I look through this task, I see that it describes what is inside this. Not inside. It describes the surroundings. Yes, the surrounding and the outside area of this pyramid. And that's why when I will look through the paragraphs and when I meet the description of the outside area, I will try to find these words, these questions. I will try to answer to these questions. With this one, I will read these answers, these 5 answers, and I will just try to remember them, and whenever I meet them, I will take these 2 following points. Okay, and I also will read these headings, and I will start reading the text and try to find everything one by one. So I need to read all exercises, and then I will start reading the text and try to find the answers to all these 3 exercises together simultaneously. Okay, so let's read the headings firstly. The first one is about the areas and artifacts within the pyramid itself. So the first one will relate to the paragraph, which will describe the areas and artifacts inside the pyramid. A difficult task for those involved, the second one, so there was a difficult task for those people who were doing this task. Okay, a king who saved his people, so the paragraph will describe a king, probably Djoser himself, and he saved his people. A single certainty among other less definite facts. So here we will need to find a paragraph where there will be described some facts, less definite facts, like the facts about which people are not sure, but there is just one single thing, single certainty about which they are sure. An overview of the external buildings and areas. So this one is about the outside area. This is opposite to the first one. A pyramid design that others copied. So the paragraph where it's written that others copied this design. An idea for changing the design of burial structures. Just be careful. This one is about how people copied the design, but number 7 is about the idea. Just the idea, not copying itself, not the fact. Number 6 is fact. Number 7 is just an idea to change the design, for changing the design. Next, an incredible experience despite the few remains. Like there will be something negative because we have contradiction. Few remains, like just few things there are, but again, the experience is incredible, amazing. And the answers to some unexpected questions. So we will try to find a paragraph where we will have answers to some unexpected questions. Before we start reading paragraphs, we also look through these ones. So we said that this one is about the areas which are outside the pyramid, but I'll try to remember number 21, and whenever I meet it, I will try to rate this and find this answer. The complex that includes the pyramid and its surroundings is considered to be as big as an Egyptian of the past. So this complex, step pyramid of Djoser, is compared. How do I understand that it's compared? Because I have this structure as big as. So it's compared to an Egyptian something in the past. Okay. Whenever I find the word Egyptian, like it's my special keyword, and something Egyptian in the past, I'll try to find this answer. And here, initially he had, so it's about Djoser. Initially Djoser had to be persuaded to build in stone rather than clay. So whenever I meet the material, the information about the material, I will evaluate this information. There is disagreement concerning the length of his reign. Reign is the duration, like how many years he ruled the country. Like there is a disagreement, like how many years he ruled the country. So it's about reign. Whenever I meet this information, I'll try to evaluate the answer B. C. He failed to appreciate Imhotep's part in the design of the step pyramid. So he didn't appreciate Imhotep's participation. A few of his possessions were still in the tomb when archaeologists found it. A tomb is a place where the family members are buried together. And a few of his possessions were still in this tomb when archaeologists found it, and he criticized the design and construction of other pyramids in Egypt. So if we meet such information, if we see such information in the text, that he criticized the construction of older pyramids, like the pyramids that were before him, we will take the answer E. Okay, let's start from a paragraph. Let's read it. So the pyramids are the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt. These grand impressive tributes to the memory of Egyptian kings have become linked with the country, even though other cultures, Chinese and Mayan, also built pyramids. The evolution argued for centuries. The evolution of the pyramid form has been written and argued for centuries. However, there's no question that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king designed by one brilliant architect, the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. So as you see here, we have a contradiction. Firstly, we have the introduction about pyramids, like although Chinese and Mayan also built pyramids, but we know pyramids like mostly because of Egyptian pyramids. And the evolution about form has been argued, like it was unclear for centuries, but we know that, just one thing, it began with one monument to Djoser. And here I have one heading, a single certainty among other less definite facts. So 14 will be 4. And I write it here. And I go further, so I still don't have any information about something Egyptian, and I still don't have any information about Djoser's pyramid to find the description part of his pyramid, and nothing from here. And I read further, B paragraph. Djoser was the first king of the 3rd dynasty of Egypt, to build in stone. Okay, we have the information about material, and as you remember, we had here initially he had to be persuaded to build in stone rather than clay. We have just the information that he was the first who built his pyramid in stone, but whether he was persuaded to do this, it's not clear still. But let's read. Prior to Djoser's reign, prior to like before, tombs were rectangular, made of dried clay. Okay, we have clay here, and which covered underground passages. For reasons which remain unclear, Djoser's main official, Imhotep, conceived of building a taller, more impressive tomb for his king by stacking stone slabs on top of one another, progressively making them smaller to form the shape now known as the step pyramid. Persuaded him to build in another form, which we know now as pyramids. Djoser is thought to have reigned for 19 years, but some historians and scholars attribute a much longer time for his rule, owing to the number and size of the monuments he built. Okay, till this part we have a little bit different information. Firstly, we have the information about Djoser, that he was the first to build in stone. Before him, kings built their pyramids in clay. Imhotep persuaded him to do that, and he also persuaded him to change the shape, because previously pyramids were rectangular. And then we have some information about his reign, like scholars, historians, they have argument about his reign. Some people think that, some historians think that he ruled for 19 years, but he built too many monuments, and that's why maybe it was longer than 19 years. So first I'll try to find a heading, an idea for changing the design of burial structures, probably this one, because others don't match this description in paragraph B. Yeah, 7. An idea for changing the design of burial structures, and I write it for 15, 7. And I go further. Before I read C paragraph, I try to, so I still don't have any information about Djoser's pyramid and its outside area, but I will exclude A answer from here because it was not written that he was initially persuaded to build in stone rather than clay. It's just written that he is the first one who built in stone. Before him, kings built their pyramids in clay, but whether he was persuaded or not, I don't know this. That's why I exclude this answer. Maybe I will have this answer later, but I'm not sure about that because they usually write some information just once. And B is okay here because there is a disagreement concerning the length of his reign. Yeah, some people think that, some scholars think that he ruled 19 years for 19 years, but some people think that, some scholars think that he ruled for a longer period. That's why for 25-26 I take B. Just the first one is clear for me, and I take for 25, for example, I write B. And he failed to appreciate Imhotep's parts. It's not written here whether he was satisfied or not, still, because we are at the beginning. A few possessions were still in his tomb. We don't have this information because we are still at the beginning. We're just at the part of the changing the design. And he criticized the design and construction of other pyramids in Egypt. Like, it's not written. Like, I can exclude this answer because the idea of changing the design is in paragraph B, and it's not written that he criticized the design. Just Imhotep persuaded him, it was his idea, to build in a rectangular form. That's why I can exclude E, and I don't have any information about C and D. For now, I can exclude E, but again, I'm not very sure. But if I were at the exam, I would cross E as well as A and B because I've already taken it. Okay, let's read further. We have C paragraph. The pyramid has been thoroughly examined and investigated over the last century. And it's now known that the building process went through different stages. One historian, he says that much experimentation was involved, which is especially clear in the construction. It had several plans before it became the first step pyramid in history. So it had several plans before they decided to build it in this way, piling 6 levels on top of one another, and the weight of the enormous mass was a challenge for the builders, who placed the stones at an inward incline in order to prevent the monument breaking up. Well, we have the information that they had several plans before they built this pyramid, and it was a real challenge for builders because the stones were very heavy. And we have one heading here, like a difficult task for those involved. So paragraph C is obviously this one. 16 is C. Oh, we still don't have any information about the outside area of this pyramid, and we don't have whether he failed to appreciate Imhotep's participation, or we don't have any information about his possessions, belongings inside the pyramid. And let's read D paragraph in this way. When finally completed, it was 62 meters high. The complex in which it was built was the size of a city in an ancient Egypt. Well, I have the word Egypt, and I understand that here they start to describe the pyramid itself, and probably they will start from its outside area. So here I have the complex in which it was built was the size of a city in an ancient Egypt. And this is the comparison to a city in an ancient Egypt. Egyptian city of the past, ancient, past, Egypt, Egyptian, and it was the size of an Egyptian city. It was as big as. We have comparison. So city, Egyptian city is the answer. For 21, I write the answer, city. Let's continue. The area outside, so I read 22, maybe the answer will come after city immediately. The area outside the pyramid included accommodation that was occupied by, accommodation for someone or something, and along with, together with, like also there were many other buildings and features. Let's continue reading. So Egypt and included a temple, courtyard, shrines, and living quarters for the priests. So probably you know what a priest means. Who is a priest? So temple, courtyards, shrines, they are all just buildings together with the accommodation, like living quarters, accommodation for priests. And my answer here will be like accommodation that was occupied by priests. I have to write this word in plural, priests, because I don't have an indefinite article a, like a priest, and that's why I write priests. If I write priest, it will be a mistake. Okay, let's go further, and here we have a wall ran around the outside of the complex, and a number of false entrances were built into this. In addition, along something encircled the wall. So firstly, we need to find the description of a wall and something long encircled. Encircle, you know, from the word circle. A circle is a noun. To encircle is a verb. Like it's surrounded. Something surrounded the wall. Let's read. The wall had 13 false doors cut into it with only one true entrance, cut into southeast corner. The entire wall was then ringed. So ring is also a circle. A ring can be a noun and a verb as well. Here it's a verb. Encircled, ringed are synonyms by a trench 750 meters long. So it's a very long trench, and that's why the answer is trench. It was ringed or encircled by a trench. So here the answer is a long trench encircled the wall. And for 23, I write trench. And I have the last one. As a result, any visitors who had not been invited were cleverly prevented from entering the pyramid grounds unless they knew of the real entrance. So, like, visitors couldn't enter the pyramid unless, only if, they knew something of the real entrance. Let's read further. We have, if someone wished to enter, he or she would have needed to know in advance how to find the location of the true opening. Real entrance, true opening, location of real entrance. So the answer will be location here, the location of the real entrance. Location. It should be in singular because it's the only one and is written here with a definite article the. When they described the external appearance of the building, of the pyramid, it's written, Djoser was so proud of his accomplishment that he broke the tradition of having only his own name as a king on the monument and had Imhotep's name carved on it as well. So he wrote Imhotep's name there as well because he was satisfied that Imhotep persuaded him to build the pyramid in this form. So if we recall these answers, we have here C. He failed to appreciate Imhotep's part in the design of the step pyramid, and this is false because he even wrote his name on the pyramid, and that's why we definitely exclude C. So we have taken B, we excluded A because we don't have any information about stone or clay anymore in the text. We excluded C, we have D and E. So for D paragraph, we will obviously choose this heading, an overview of the external buildings and areas, 5. It's for D paragraph. And we go further to read E paragraph. The burial chamber of the tomb, where he was laid, blah blah blah, he was tunnels, rooms. One of the mysterious discoveries found inside was a large number of stone vessels. Those vessels, they inscribed with the names of rulers of the first and second dynasties of Egypt. There is no agreement among scholars and archaeologists on why the vessels were placed there. One archaeologist, Jean-Philippe Loyer, who excavated most of the pyramid and complex, believes they were originally stored and then given a proper burial by Djoser. And there are historians, however, who claim the vessels were dumped into the shafts as yet another attempt to prevent grave robbers from getting to the king's burial chamber. Well, we don't have here any information from this task, but we see that E paragraph describes what was inside this pyramid, and that's why I take number 1. The areas and artifacts like those vessels and other belongings within the pyramid itself. For 18, I take number 1. And I have 2 paragraphs left, 19 and 20. Let's go and read it. Let's read paragraph E. Unfortunately, all of the precautions and intricate design didn't prevent ancient robbers from finding a way inside the pyramid. Djoser's grave goods and even his body were stolen. All archaeologists found were a small number of his valuables, overlooked by the thieves. Well, thieves didn't take his valuables, his possessions, his belongings. There was enough left throughout the pyramid and its complex, however, to astonish and amaze the archaeologists who excavated it. So firstly, before we find the heading, we can look at this one. We have just one answer left to find. We didn't have any information about E, like he criticized the design of and construction of other pyramids. And we excluded A, we can exclude E, we can exclude C. The information that he failed to appreciate Imhotep's part is wrong because of paragraph D. Yeah, at the end it's written that he was so proud of his accomplishment that he wrote even Imhotep's name on it. So we can easily exclude A, C, E. B is right, D is right. A few of his possessions were still in the tomb when archaeologists found it, and it's written in paragraph F. We write it here, it's our answer. We have 19 and 20. We have just read paragraph F. Firstly, it's written that so many things were stolen, and then they add, archaeologists found some valuables which belong to Djoser, and there was enough left throughout the pyramid and complex, however, they make contrast, that however there were so many things, enough left to astonish and amaze, to surprise archaeologists. So archaeologists actually were surprised when they excavated his tomb. And number 8, an incredible experience, astonish, amaze, surprise, incredible experience for archaeologists despite the few remains. Although few things remained, archaeologists were astonished. So for paragraph F, 19, we write 8. And we have just 20. The answer 20 is paragraph G. Let's read it. So we have Egyptologists. Few monuments hold a place in human history. It can be said without exaggeration that this pyramid complex constitutes a milestone in the evolution of monumental stone architecture and in the world as a whole. The step pyramid was a revolutionary advance in architecture and became the archetype which all the other great pyramid builders of Egypt would follow. So he says that this monument is an amazing monument. It was a revolutionary advance in architecture, and after this pyramid, other builders of Egypt follow this style. Would follow, the verb would, the modal verb would, shows repeated actions in the past. So you can say, when I was a child, I would visit my grandmother in summers or during summers. So you say would visit, it means that every summer you went to your grandmother. And this means that people just builders followed this design, and we have this heading. a pyramid design that others copied, not an idea. An idea of changing was for the other paragraph, and this heading is for the last one, that many other builders after Djoser copied the design of his monument. And here we write number 6 for G paragraph. So let's be sure whether it's 6. Yes, a pyramid design that others copied. Yes, that's it. We have written the answers for the second paragraph, text. We have found all the answers, and you see the way that I did it. I just read firstly all the tasks, and then I started reading the text and tried to do them simultaneously. Of course, it can be a little bit difficult for some students, but you can firstly read and do other exercises, and then when you finish this exercises, you can go back to the headings. Just if you skip doing headings, finding headings, you will read ABC, you will over skim or scan these ABC paragraphs like just for nothing. You will lose an opportunity to find their headings, and you will come to this part, you will find the answers for fill in the gaps, and you will not find all answers for this task because answer B is somewhere at the beginning. That's why I advise doing all of them simultaneously, like finding headings and also keeping in mind this answers, and keeping in mind that you need to find the description of the external area of the pyramid. Well, that's it. Now we're going to the last text. So we have come to the last text, the future of work, and as I've told you, the last text is the most difficult one. Usually it's like that, but sometimes it can change. So sometimes they can give you the most difficult text, the first one, and the last one may be the easiest one, but in most cases the last text is usually the most difficult. Okay, so we have here the future of work, and of course I will not read it right now immediately. I will look at my questions. So firstly I have multiple choice. Multiple choice is easy, more or less easy, because I know that the questions here will follow the order. Like the first one will be 27 in the text, the answer to the 27 will come the first, then 28, then 29, and so on. Then we have fill in the gaps, but this fill in the gaps is more difficult than just an ordinary fill in the gaps, because here I will find the answers in the text, and I will not write these answers immediately in my answer sheet. I will write their synonyms, not their synonyms even, but the letters near these synonyms. So if the answer is pressure, I will write A. And I have this one here. I need to match the list of people to the statements, but the list of people, this matching type, like matching authors or people to the statements, this one is a little bit easier than an ordinary matching for me, because I have here the names of people, and I can find these names in the text. Okay, so how will I start? Firstly, I'll just look at my multiple choice questions, and I see that the first one is the first paragraph tells us about. Okay, I will just need to look at the first paragraph. According to the second paragraph here, I need to find what is Stella Pacidi's view of the knowledge economy. I should find Stella Pacidi's view, and I have a special term written in quotation mark which facilitates the process of finding this word in the text and the answer to the 28. And then I have what did Pacidi observe at the telecommunication company. Okay, it will come after 28, 29 will come after 28 in the text. And the last one is about Ivan Magogi, what he did in his recently published research. Okay, then I go to this one, the algorithmication of jobs. I have a special term, algorithmication, which again facilitates the process of finding. Then I see that it's Stella Pacidi. Okay, then I look further, again Pacidi, and I look further, and again Pachidi. So, and I understand that all these 4 gaps, like all these 4 questions, relate to Stella Pachidi, and I will look only at the part of the text where it's written only about Stella Pachidi. And the last one, I have Stella Pachidi, Hamish Lowe, and Ewan Magogi, and I have 6 statements. I have in B, of course, I will use one person more than once, like one letter more than once. So Stella Pachidi may say 2 things or even 3 things. For example, Stella Pachidi may say or do 3 things. 3 statements can relate to Stella Pachidi, and only 1 statement can relate to Ewan Magogi, and 2 statements may relate to Hamish Lowe. Let's decide how we will do. I will read the text just one by one, and I will try to find the answers simultaneously. For example, I will start reading from the first paragraph to define its meaning, 27, and then I will also try to find the algorithmification of jobs. When I will find the algorithmification of jobs, I will try to find this ones as well. And also I will go further. So if I look at my text, also I can do one thing. I know that this text is about authors, like different authors, what they did or what they said. And I see that here, I see Pachidi. I can underline their names to understand in which parts we will discuss them, because some authors can be discussed at the beginning of the text and then the other authors may be discussed, but the first author can be discussed again. And that's why I need to define where do they discuss these authors, like what they did or what they said. And I see that firstly I have just general information about the future of work, then I have Stella Pachidi, then again Pachidi here, then Pachidi again continues, then I see here the word algorithms, so algorithmification of works also relate to Pachidi. I remember that in the second task the question was about the algorithmification of jobs, and it all related to Pachidi, like all questions related to Pachidi. Again Pachidi here, then I go to the second page, I see that again I have Pachidi, then I go further, I see here we go to the Hamish Lowe, again Lowe, and then here Ewan Magogi, he adds, he recently published, and yeah, and probably here we will continue reading all about Ewan Magogi. So this text is easy. Firstly, they will discuss Stella Pachidi a lot, then a little bit Hamish Lowe, and then Ewan Magogi. Okay, I will start with the first one, like what I need to know about the first one. So here I have that 314% of the global workforce will need to switch to a different occupation within the next 10-15 years, and all workers will need to adapt their occupations, evolve alongside increasingly capable machines, and automation or embodied artificial intelligence is one aspect of the disruptive effects of technology. Disembodied, like the algorithms running in our smartphones, is another. So I have firstly the percentage of global workforce will need to switch to another occupations or adapt, and then I have something about automation. Embodied artificial intelligence is just one aspect of disruptive effects of technology, and disembodied algorithms in our smartphones is another. Let's look at our answers because we need to discuss them. The kinds of jobs that will be most affected by the growth of AI. Well, they say that people will need to change their occupation, to change their jobs, but it's not written which kind of jobs will be forced to be changed. That's why A is wrong. The extent to which AI will alter the nature of the work that people do. Yeah, this can be the extent, like we have the number there, 314%, and this extent, this proportion, will alter. Alter is the synonym of change. The nature of work, like the types of work will change. The work itself, occupations will change. C, the proportion. So here we see the word proportion, which suits more to 314 percentage. It suits more than the word extent, but let's read further. The proportion of the world's labor force who will have jobs in AI in the future. So they say that 314% of jobs or people will need to switch their jobs, like to change their jobs, to change the nature of their jobs. If we read again, we can see 314% of the global workforce will need to switch to a different occupation. And all workers will need to adapt as their occupations evolve alongside increasingly capable machines. So people will switch their occupation and they will need to adapt to new occupations. But it's not written that they will have jobs in the future. It's not clear. Maybe they will switch, but they will not have jobs. It's not C, although the word proportion is here to confuse us. Next, the difference between ways that embodied and disembodied AI will impact on workers. Yes, the difference between embodied and disembodied AI is shown, but it's not shown how it will impact on workers. It's just shown that it's one aspect, like embodied AI is just one aspect and disembodied AI is just another aspect, and that's it. So the answer is B, and I will write it in my answer sheet here. Sorry, it's B. Well, I go further, and if I look at other exercises, I don't have anything about algorithmication, and I don't have the name of any of these authors to find their statements. I just read further. So here I start reading about Stella Pacini, and I will need her statements here. She believes that some of the most fundamental changes are happening as a result of algorithmication. Well, I start reading about the algorithmication of jobs, my second task. Of jobs that are dependent on data rather than on production, the so-called knowledge economy. Algorithms are capable of learning from data to undertake tasks that previously needed human judgment, such as reading contracts, analyzing medical scans, and gathering market intelligence. Well, let's read firstly this one. According to the second paragraph, what's Stella Pacini view of the knowledge economy? And let me read again. She says that fundamental changes are happening as a result of algorithmication and of jobs, algorithmication of jobs that are dependent on data rather than on production, so-called knowledge economy. So these jobs are mostly dependent on data rather than production. And I have this one. It's having an influence on the number of jobs. I don't have such information. It's changing people's attitude towards their occupations. I don't think so. It's the main reason why production sector is declining. It's a key factor driving current developments in the work. So I don't have the information that it has influence on the number of jobs. It's changing people's attitude towards their occupations. I don't have this information exactly. I just have that jobs that are dependent on data rather than production, knowledge economy, they are mostly exposed to this algorithmication, and algorithms are capable to learn data from jobs which previously required human intervention, and that's why this is probably D. It's a key factor driving current developments in the workforce. It's not written that production sector is declining. No, just data sector uses more AI than production sector, and that's it. So D, 28D, it's a key factor driving current developments in the workplace. So here we have, yeah, they just change, they just make some developments in the workplace. Okay, and I write my answer here. It's D. Then I go further. So I have read about algorithmication, and I can go to my, instead of reading what she did in telecommunication company, which will be a little bit further in the text, I want to read this part and try to find number 31. Stella Pacidi has been focusing on the algorithmication of jobs which rely not on production but on, so if you remember, here it's written that jobs that are dependent on data, she's focusing on jobs that are dependent on data rather than on production. So here we have not on production but on data, but we don't have the word data here. We have information, G, and that's why for 31 I will write G. So I just go like that. I read it and go one by one. So next I have, while monitoring a telecommunication company, Pacidi observed a growing something. And my 29 question is also about telecommunication company. But I will go to my third task to see whether I can find something related to Stella Pacidi. And now I have the opportunity to read the statements. Greater levels of automation will not result in lower employment. No, she didn't say something like that. There are several reasons why AI is appealing to businesses. No, here she's not discussing businesses. AI's potential to transform people's lives has parallels with major cultural shifts which occurred in previous eras. Here we have some parallels, like some comparison with major cultural shifts in the past. We haven't read something like that. It's important to be aware of the range of problems that AI causes. Here it's about problems. It's important to be aware of them. People are going to follow a less conventional career path than in the past. We don't have this. Yeah, it's written that some jobs, which are mostly dependent on data, they are now mostly done by automation, by AI, but it's not written that people will change their jobs. And authorities should take measures to ensure that there will be adequately paid work to everyone. No, I haven't found anything that can relate to Stella Pacidi according to the part that I have read till now, and that's why I go just further. I need to find about telecommunication companies, and here as well, 29, it's about what did she observe at the telecommunication company. By the way, 29 and 32 are a bit similar. Here also she observed a growing something. Okay, let's read, let's go further. In many cases, they can outperform humans. Organizations are attracted to using algorithms because they want to make choices based on what they consider is perfect information. Reduce costs and enhance productivity. Okay, that's interesting. Do we have anything about this information in the statements? No, I don't say here. Authorities should make some steps. People should change their career path. Problems, cultural shifts, several reasons why AI is appealing to businesses. By the way, 36 is suitable. Let's read again that part to compare. And no lower employment. So as you see, for myself, first I read all these statements, and then for myself, I underlined the most important parts: lower employment, AI appealing to businesses, major cultural shifts, parallels with major cultural shifts, problems, people are going to follow a less conventional career path, and measures, authorities should take measures. Okay, so I said that 36 looks like it relates to Stella Pacidi. There are several reasons why AI is appealing to businesses. Let's read. So in many cases, they can outperform humans. Organizations are attracted, organizations are businesses, to using algorithms because they want to make choice, like perfect choice, reduce costs and enhance productivity. So these are 3 reasons why organizations are attracted to using algorithms. Because of perfect information, reduce costs and enhance productivity. So for 36, I write A, Stella Pacidi. I'm pretty sure that this is right. Then I go further and I continue reading because I have the question number 29. What did she observe at the telecommunication company? And I have 32. She observed a growing, also a telecommunication company. Okay, so I go further and I see. Participants are not without consequences. If routine cognitive tasks are taken over by AI, how do professionals develop their future experts? One way of learning about a job is diligent peripheral participation, and always stands next to experts and learns by observation. If this isn't happening, then you need to find new ways to learn. So here she just mentions the need to learn new ways to learn, because if routine cognitive tasks are taken by AI, how do professions develop the future experts? And we need to find novice ways, and it will look, so it's not about telecommunications still, and it will look at this ones, the statements. We still don't have this information. And let's go further and read. Another issue is the extent to which the technology influences or even controls the workforce. And she monitored the telecommunications company, and the way telecom salespeople work is through personal and frequent contact with clients, using the benefit of experience as a situation and reach a decision. However, the company had started using algorithm that defined when account manager should contact certain customers about which kinds of campaigns and what to offer them. Actually, here she just mentions what she did there and what she saw there. She saw that company had started using algorithm which defined when account manager should contact certain customers. She observed this. Let's read further and decide to which consequences she came. The algorithm, usually built by external designers, often becomes the keeper of knowledge. In cases like this, Pachidi believes a short-sighted view begins to creep into working practice, whereby workers learn through the algorithm eyes and become dependent on its instructions. Alternative explorations, where experimentation and human instinct lead to progress and new ideas, are effectively discouraged. So she says that workers learn through the algorithm's eyes and become dependent on its instructions. This is what she observed. She believes that a short-sighted views begin to creep into working practices. She believes like she observed. Let's read what Pachidi observed at telecommunication company. Staff disagreeing with the recommendations of AI. We still don't have this information. Staff feeling resentful about the intrusion of AI in their work. We don't see that they are resentful. Staff making sure that AI produces the results that they want. We still don't have this information. Staff allowing AI to carry out tasks they ought to do themselves. Actually, we have this type of information, but not exactly the same. We don't have like exactly that tasks allowed staff allowed the AI to do the tasks that they should do. They just started to rely on algorithms mostly. If we read this one, Pachidi observed a growing on the recommendations made by AI as workers begin to learn through the algorithm's eyes. They became more dependent on the recommendations, and here we have the word reliance, E. So for 32, we write E, because we also have keyword here, the algorithm's eyes. And also meanwhile at the same time, it means that this information is close to the previous one. Staff are deterred from experimenting and using their own, and therefore prevented from achieving innovation. They don't use their own something, and so they cannot achieve some innovation. Let's read further. Alternative explorations, like meanwhile, it's common to this one, like it's like the synonym of this one, alternative exploration, meanwhile, meantime, where experimentation and human instinct lead to progress and new ideas are effectively discouraged. So human instinct and progress, human instinct lead to progress and new ideas. these two are discouraged. So people stop using their own instinct and new ideas, and they just rely on artificial intelligence. And so here I have staff are deterred from experimenting and using their own instinct. Instead of instinct, C, intuition. And so they cannot achieve any innovations like new ideas. For 33, I write C. And also I look at my statements. So for 36, I have taken Stella Pacidi. Yeah, that's it. I don't have anything about lower employment. I don't have about cultural shifts. I don't have about problems. I don't have anything about following less conventional career path and what authorities should do. I also don't have these pieces of information. To avoid this kind of situations, Pacidi observed researchers are trying to make AI's decisions, make process making easier. So we have come to the point, in the text we have come to the point when she explains the problems. And now further we will probably read solutions, the solutions that she offers. Okay. But here, what did Stella Pacidi observe at telecommunication company? We see that staff didn't disagree with the recommendation, they didn't feel resentful, staff making sure that AI produced the results they want, and staff allowing AI to carry out tasks they ought to do themselves. Again, we don't have exactly this information, D, that they allowed. We have that they relied, okay? They relied mostly on some, in some cases. And let's read further. We have Pacidi and colleagues even observe people developing strategies to make the algorithm work to their own advantage. We are seeing cases where workers feed the algorithm with false data to reach their targets. So actually here, if you remember, we have this one. Staff allowing AI to carry out tasks, Staff making sure that AI produces the results that they want. Yes, actually we have this information here. We're seeing cases when workers feed the algorithm with false data. So workers give the algorithm false data to reach their own targets. So I think that the answer to 29 is C. And my last one is about Ewan McGaughey, what he did in his recently published research. So I leave this test until the time I find the information about Ewan McGaughey. And I go further. Here I don't have anything, but here I need to read about the solution of the problems that Stella Pacidi mentioned. Let's go back to the text. We have finished this page and we go further to this one. It's scenarios like this that many researchers are working to avoid. Okay, it's about avoiding these problems. Their objective is to make AI technology more trustworthy and transparent so that organizations and individuals understand how AI decisions are made. In the meantime, we need to make sure we fully understand the dilemmas that this new world raises regarding expertise, occupational boundaries, and control. So here we see her last words, because from this part we start reading about Hamish Law. So she says, we need to make sure that we understand the dilemmas, the problems that this new world raises regarding expertise, occupational boundaries, and control. So here, to avoid this kind of situations, researchers are trying to make AI's decision-making process easier to comprehend. Here we need to make sure we fully understand the dilemmas regarding expertise, occupational boundaries, and control. So obviously here we need to make sure we need to increase confidence. We need to increase confidence with regard to technology. So the answer will be F for 34. 34 is F. And do we have any information from here? for Stella Pacidi because we have already finished with Stella Pacidi. Like 38, it's important to be aware of the range of problems. We need to fully understand the dilemmas, she said. Range of problems, dilemmas. Dilemmas, problems are synonyms. 38 goes to A, Stella Pacidi. So I have finished with this task. The algorithmication of jobs, fill in the gaps is over. And I have just 4 statements left here. And I have just the last test. It's about Ewan McGaughey. Okay, but before Ewan McGaughey starts here, I have 2 paragraphs which relate to Hamish Lowe. And he said he believes that the future of work will involve major transitions. The traditional trajectory of full-time education, followed by full-time work, followed by a pensioned retirement. So he said that full-time education, full-time work, pensioned retirement, it's a thing of the past, so it's in the past. Instead, he says that a multi-stage employment life is coming. Retraining will happen across the life course, and we will have multiple jobs, and no job happened by choice at different stages. So he says that this traditional trajectory of full-time education, full-time job and retirement, it's in the past. So I recall that here I have this one. People are going to follow a less conventional career path than in the past. So the the conventional career path is in the past, and people are going, so it means that it will happen in the future, they will follow a less conventional. Be careful with such tests. A less conventional career path, like it will not be conventional anymore. That's why 39 goes to Hamish Lowe, B. And I read here B. Then I continue reading about Hamish Lowe. On the subject of job losses, he believes that it assumes that the number of jobs is fixed. If in 30 years half of 100 jobs are being carried out by robots, that doesn't mean that we are left with just 50 jobs. The number of jobs will increase. He implies that we will not suffer from unemployment. New jobs will appear in the future because of artificial intelligence. So I think that this answer, greater levels of automation, will not result in lower employment. We still will have jobs in the future, and even more jobs, more new jobs. 35 goes also to Hamish Lowe. It's B. We have 37 and 40. Probably they relate to Ewan McGaughey, but again, we still need to read. Actually, probably yes, because we have read till this part, till unemployment, and now we start, we have read till this part, 150 jobs, and now we start reading about Ewan McGaughey, and it seems to me that we don't have any information about the other 2 scientists. He said that he agreed that apocalyptic views about the future of work are misguided. It's the laws that restrict the supply of capital to the job market, not the advent of new technologies, that causes unemployment. So he blames laws, not technologies, which cause unemployment. He also is telling us something about unemployment. He's recently published research, so here we start reading about his research, and we recall this test number 30, what he did in his research. Okay, let's read. He answers the question of whether automation will mean a jobless future by looking at the causes of unemployment. History is clear that change can mean redundancies. Redundancies, yeah, like some people will be left without a job. But social policies can tackle this through retraining and redeployment. So social policies could do something. They can retrain and redeploy people to make them find new jobs. Challenges the idea that redundancy is a negative thing. No, he doesn't write about this. Shows the profound effect of mass unemployment on society. No, highlights, he doesn't show any effect on societies. Highlights some differences between past and future. He doesn't show any difference. Illustrates how changes in the job market can be successfully handled. Yes, he says that social policies, where is it? Yes, social policies can solve synonyms, this problem through retraining and redeployment. So the answer is D for 30. Well, we have just 37 and 40. Of course, before reading the text, it's good to read 37 and 40 to be sure that they really relate to Ewan McGaughey. So number 37 is about some parallels, comparison, like similarities with major cultural shifts. Like AI's potential is compared to major cultural shifts in the past, and authorities should take measures to ensure that there will be adequately paid work for everyone. He says that authorities should do something and make sure that people are paid adequately. Let's read. He adds, if there's going to change to be changed to jobs as a result of AI, I'd like to see government seizing the opportunity to improve policy to enforce good job security. So he says that I'd like to see how government will solve this problem with good job security, reprogram the law to prepare for a fairer future of work and leisure. And also findings are governments and banks to preempt the coming change with bold new policies that guarantee full employment, fair incomes, and a thriving economic democracy. Fair incomes, yeah, he says that I want to be sure that governments will guarantee that people will have full employment, fair incomes, and economic democracy. So for this number 40, authorities should take measures to ensure that there will be adequately paid work. So authorities should guarantee work, fair incomes, thriving economy, but here it's written only about fair incomes, adequately paid, synonyms. So for 40 we write C, Ewan McGaughey. C, and we have just 37, and it's this like comparison with major cultural shifts in the past. We read further and we see. He adds, just as the Industrial Revolution brought people past substances agriculture and the corporate revolution enabled mass production, a third revolution has been pronounced. The next revolution will be social. Well, he says, just as is the sentence which makes comparison, in which we can make comparisons, like just as Industrial Revolution made people past like live subsistence agriculture, the corporate revolution enabled production, it was in the past, and a third revolution is coming, but he says that it's not about technology, it's mostly about social. But again, like 37 relates AI's potential to transform people's lives has parallels, just similarity, with major cultural shifts which occurred in previous eras, and for 37 we write C. Well, that's it. These are all answers, all 40 answers for this 3 texts. I hope that after watching this video, doing a reading test will be much easier to you. Of course, this video may be a bit long, but I hope that all these thorough explanations will really help you. Of course, all question types, all tasks have their own ways to how to do these tasks, and there are like special guidances regarding these tasks, teachers claiming that there are special guidances, but I just showed my own way, and with this way I always had success in reading. Well, good luck to all of you, dear friends. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comment section.